I'm changing taxi a bit. Where is King Malik Abdullah of Saudi Arabia? Custodian of the Holy Two Mosques. What about the third mosque in Jerusalem? With your trillions and trillions of dollars in the American stock market. What about the Palestinians? Where is General Sisi? Have you not put an end of your neighbors who are being slaughtered down the road for you? What about the Palestinians? Where is the Amir of the United Arab Emirates? Physically the Palestinians! Why are these Arab leaders and many, many more being silent? They are silent because shame on you, Arab leaders! Shame on you! 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 Just some more statistics. So the massacre of the Palestinians has now entered the 19th day, almost 3 weeks. Just today, just this morning, over 100 bodies were pulled out of the rubble from the destroyed buildings over the past week. They've been watching the land and decomposing over the past week because the emergency services could not reach them. As it stands, there's over 1,000 martyrs with over 6,000 injured. Out of 1,000 dead, there's over 40 to 50 elderly and over 200 children. Out of the 6,000 injured, there's over 250 elderly and almost 2,000 children are injured. So over 200 dead children and almost 2,000 children injured. Is this not a massive war crime? Is this not a war crime? Before we continue, out of respect for the dead, let's all have a moment of silence and make a small prayer and fatiha for the deceased and the people affected. Jazakallah. Okay, thank you very much. We will proceed with the program. First of all, we've got a speaker, Pete Morrison, a regular speaker on Palestine, and always here at the rallies. He's a local trade unionist and a chair of the People's Assembly Against Austerity. I give you Pete Morrison.
Okay. Salam alaikum, brothers and sisters, comrades. Be in no doubt, Israel is at war with Hamas. Israel has launched a war against Gaza, and Israel has launched a war against the population of 1.5 million people that were in the ghettos and camps of Gaza. Israel justifies their attacks by saying it wants to stop the rockets. Alright, it wants to stop the rockets. Why is it destroying the sewerage systems? Why is it destroying electricity? Why is it destroying the water systems? Why is it attacking every building and home associated with Hamas? It's doing that because it wants to destroy the infrastructure and it wants to destroy Gaza. The second justification it comes out with is for the slaughter that's happened, it's Hamas's fault. They're using people as human shields. They're bringing out people who look good on television. You know, this is the disgusting things that the Israeli states are saying. The point is, for Gaza and for Gazans to fight back, they have to do it from the territory where ordinary people live. They have no choice. It is so concentrated with people, you know, and that's why they do it. The ordinary people have nowhere to shelter. Children are being murdered by the Israeli army on beaches. They are being murdered in hospitals. They are being murdered in so-called UN shelters. The UN sent the coordinates of that shelter, the school, to the Israeli army on 12 different occasions. Don't tell me that school was not targeted deliberately. The Israeli army and the Israeli state aren't interested in civilians. They're not interested in those casualties. They want to destroy Gaza. They are deliberately targeting that place. Netanyahu actually stands up and compares Palestinians to animals on two legs. This man has no morality. He is not bothered about 800 people, mainly civilians and children, that have been killed in Gaza and the countless thousands that are actually being injured. They want the destruction of that state. And the second thing I want to say is, as a lot of you know, this is an unequal war. This is a war of David versus Goliath, where Goliath is the Israeli state, and that Israeli state is backed by the UN. It is backed by all the military governments of the Camerons of this world, the Obamas of this world, and the Arab leaders that were mentioned before. Let's look at two things. You look at the Ukraine, there's a massive call for sanctions. Now that was an appalling attack on a plane with 289 people were slaughtered. But you look at every big government, they're calling for sanctions against Ukraine. And David Cameron, just to be hypocrisy, he says let's stop supplying arms. But actually the arms supply, the British government to Russia, has actually gone up, and he's quite welcome to line the Tories' own back pockets by getting money off the Russian oligarchs and the Russian millionaires. But you contrast the calls for sanctions on Ukraine with what's happening in Gaza. Where are the calls for the sanctions on Gaza? The British government have a military contract of £8 billion with the Israeli state. Why doesn't the Cameron, if he believes in sanctions, it isn't a hypocrite, say that actually we are withdrawing any arms offers to the Israeli state? 2 weeks ago, David Cameron went to an arms fair in London and he signed a contract. That contract was for £1 billion for an Israeli firm to supply drones to the British government. You know, drones.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you!
Drones that have been used around the world, in Pakistan, in places to kill more innocent civilians. It's an absolute travesty that these military leaders, these government leaders are not reflecting the views of ordinary people, the people on the street and the people that are demonstrating. What can we do? Because you can think, they're big governments, we can't do anything. But I tell you what, armies aren't the most important thing in the world. The power of people, the power of trade unions, the power of organisation can be greater. The Americans lost the war in Vietnam. They were the biggest military power, but they lost because of the support of the Vietnamese people. So we need to do two things. There's an heroic struggle going on in Gaza, like all of you know. They have no choice. It is starve or fight, and they are fighting back. What we need, hopefully we're seeing the first signs of it, is of a third intifada. You're seeing demonstrations already on the West Bank, where unfortunately some, Palestinians have already been killed, but they are rising up again. And we have seen in the Arab states, we have seen massive demonstrations, in Iran, tens of thousands in support of the Palestinians. We've seen similar demonstrations of ordinary people in Jordan supporting the Palestinians. And even in Egypt, where Sisi has ordered a huge attack and has jailed tens of thousands of people and murdered many. Many of those Egyptians have gone onto the street and said, we want freedom for the Palestinians at a great risk of their life. That's part of the struggle. The other part of the struggle is what we do and what we can do. And demonstrations like this were important and vital that we fly that flag over town halls and we support the Palestinians. The other one, and I mentioned it before, there is a massive boycott, disinvestment and sanctions campaign going on. Have a look online. It's absolutely critical that we begin to boycott Israeli goods, that we stop Israeli goods being sold in Britain. It's also absolutely vital that we disinvest, that we stop supplying this murderous regime. It would not exist without the support, the armed support that they're given from the West, and it would not stand up economically without the economic support it gets. Israel gets more aid from the European Union than the whole of Africa. Africa with starvation. Well, that shouldn't happen. So that needs to change. I'll shut up, sorry. I know I'm going on a bit long. So the final thing I'll just end on. Look at that campaign. It's highly effective. Israel's on the back foot about that. The world are rising up in protest, ordinary people are. We can bring Gaza, we can make Gaza free, and we can bring freedom for Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter Zada. Our next speaker is a councillor from Preston City Council, Liz Atkins.
Yeah, thank you. I am not a speech maker. I'm nothing like as good as he was. I'm a Preston City Councillor, and after you had your last demonstration, I heard about it, and I hadn't known it was happening. And I asked Anis Baruki, who's another councillor, is there anything else that we could do? And I said, I think I might ask if the council can fly the Palestinian flag at half-mast for a day, at least. And he said, you've really got very little chance of that happening. And I said, well, I will ask anyway. I'll ask. And it's been very difficult to get it to happen. Really, there's been an awful lot of problems cropping up, but they did fly it on Friday, not for as long as they wanted to, but they flew it from the front of the town hall, which is even better than the plan, which was from the top. To represent them. They can't come and represent themselves, but I can, so that's why I'm here, and that's why I wanted the flag to fly like it did. So thank you so much.
Thank you once again, Liz Atkins. Before we continue, just a few more comments. How many times do we hear our Western politicians come out with the typical excuse, Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel has the right to defend itself. Of the modern battlefield on a largely defenseless civilian population is the final phase in a decades-long campaign to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. Shame on the bastards! Shame on Israel! Shame on Israel! Shame on Israel! Shame on Israel! Israel uses sophisticated attack jets and naval vessels to bomb densely crowded refugee camps, schools, apartment blocks, mosques and slums, to attack a population that has no air force, no air defense, no navy, no heavy weapons, no artillery units, no mechanized armor, no commanding occupied territories now claim that they have the right to defend themselves. They are defending themselves in the sense that any military occupier has to defend itself against the population they are crushing. But you can't defend yourself when you're military occupying someone else's land. That's not defense. Call it what you want, it's not defense. So the root cause of this whole conflict is occupation. End the occupation. End the occupation. End the occupation. End the occupation. On that note, I'd like to call once again the chair of the Children of the Ghetto, and my very good friend and partner in crime, I'd say, and his name, Mukhtar Master.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, brothers, friends, sisters, and everyone here. I wrote a speech. I can't be wrong, because love for Palestine is from the heart. It doesn't come from pieces of paper. So my speech is just as it's going to be. Let me tell you, for the last few days, I have to be honest, right? I've hardly had any sleep with Ramadan and Tel Aviv and doing television interviews and radio interviews. I've been running on basically adrenaline. I've no food, no drink, and doing all this organising. Honestly, I've had enough of it, but I'm doing it. Well done! I have two messages, only two messages. One of courage and steadfastness, and just something that I just don't understand, and that's with the Palestinian people, the courage that they have. So that's my first message. My second message is of gratitude. So I'll start with my first message, and that's with the Palestinian people. Over the last few weeks, what we've seen is that just today, it was 1,000 people have now died. Over 5,000 people have been injured and maimed, and they don't have the resources to get these people better in the hospitals. And you have 100,000 people who are now displaced. Displaced? Well, where do they go? Where do displaced people in Gaza go? When you're a square area of 13 miles by 7 miles, and you are confined into a prison, where the bloody hell do you go? Well, you go into UN refugees, and they bloody bomb you. So shame on Israel. Shame on Israel. However, if people had to go through what they have gone through, anyone would have put up the white flag of surrender. We would have put up the white flag of surrender. Anyone would have said enough is enough and accepted any kind of ceasefire, but not the Palestinian people and not Hamas. And you have got to stand up and applaud their courage, because they don't want their kind of ceasefire. They don't want ceasefire on their terms, they want it on their own terms. And their own terms is that the siege that has continued, this terrible siege since 2006, is lifted so they can live lives just like the rest of us in here. Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! Free, free, Palestine! So my first message is just applauding the courage of the Palestinians and the Gazans. My second message is of gratitude. Gratitude for what happened yesterday. And as the councillor said, it was absolutely an historic event. Never in the history of England and Wales has a Palestinian flag been raised on any town hall in England and Wales. I said to the chief executive, and what's the big deal? This is a piece of cloth that's going to be raised just for a little while, a piece of cloth. What does it matter? But I knew, in my heart I knew, it meant a lot. What it meant was that this was a victory for the Palestinians. This was a defeat for the Zionists and these friends of Israel that lobby so hard. media, on YouTube, on various things. It's been tweeted all over. Abu Muhammad of Interpol sent it to Gaza, and there was messages from Gaza thanking us, thanking the people of Preston. So my thanks is firstly to Preston City Council for arranging and letting this happen. So thank you, Preston City Council. My second thanks is to somebody who's now disappeared and I can't see him, but Michael Lavalette. Michael has brought motion upon motion to the council, motion to twin with Nablus, motion to condemn Israel when they've attacked Gaza, a motion to recognise Hamas as the legitimate government of Palestine and of Gaza. So I thank Michael Lavalette. The other person I thank is my friend and colleague, Ismail Timor. And we need people, honestly, I have to say this, I spend a lot of time with him. And you might think that's not a good thing, but okay, you know, that's a simple argument that I say there. But Ismail has such passion for Palestine. Honestly, he has the passion of a lion when it comes to Palestine. And really, we should look to people like him for our mentor, for being a mentor in terms of Palestine. And thirdly, I thank our ulama, our imams, who have given us the love for the ummah, for our brothers and sisters in Palestine, so that we can do the work that we do. And last of all, I thank all of you, because you turned out 2 weeks ago, and you turned out again, because all the mission that we have is only one mission, and that mission is that we want freedom for Palestine. Freedom for Palestine! Freedom for Palestine! Freedom for Palestine! I was going to end there in terms of my speech, but I've got one more thing. Honestly, I have one more thing.
The flag that went up there.
This is the flag that flew yesterday. Only for 5 minutes, but it didn't matter. When we were in that meeting and we were arguing whether it was 1 minute, 1 day, 1 year, it didn't matter. The Preston City Council put this flag up the town hall of Blair. And brothers and sisters, I could be really selfish. I could keep this flag for myself, because I ordered it. I ordered it last week to get here on time for Friday. But no, brothers and sisters, I don't want to do that. What I'm going to do today, for the people of Gaza, for the people of Palestine, the people that we've come out for, the people that we love, I'm going to auction this today. I'm going to auction it to the highest bidder. They're going to have the flag, the only flag that's flown on top of the town hall in Preston. The other bid of £100,000, that's not enough for me. That's not enough. I only have a few seconds. So I've got 200 there. And anybody talking 3 figures, surely the only flag that's been on for 4 figures can only tell anyone. This is money going to the Gazan people. I will give it to Interpol today, or whenever the person gives it. Do we have any takers?
Someone at the back.
Anybody?
How much?
How much? £500 to the back. Anyone else? Come on, brothers and sisters. Honestly, I don't have time. We don't have time. There's a 600 over there. Keep your hand up, because I can't see you. Anybody else? Come on. £700 there.
Any more?
Anybody else? Put your hand up. 800 there. Is there 1,000 anyway? 14,000. Thank you, brothers. That money will go to Gaza. Doesn't matter. It's not. That's such passion. That's such passion.
Come on, quit.
Mr. Lally. Mr.
1100 there! Yes, I can see him there, 1100 pounds.
Money's going to go to Interpol. They're only working on the ground.
1250 from the brother there! Come on, brothers, sisters!
Come on, lad.
It's the brother there, I've seen him, I know what he is! 1300 pounds here! Money's no object to the Israelis. Come on. Final bid, come on, one more bid, come on, please, brothers and sisters. This is going to our thousands. Any more? 1400 there, 1400 there. 1400. The one and only flag that's flown on 1500 where? 1500 yesterday, 1500. That has to be the taker. Gold, second gold again.
You get a free carrier bag with it as well. I think I all booked our bird after what it said as well. Okay. Now we've got, unfortunately, Mark Hendrick, who came 2 weeks ago. He's abroad today and he couldn't be here with us. So we've got Councillor Salim Desai, who's going to read a statement on behalf of Mark. Councillor Salim.
Thank you very much. So this is from Mark Hendrick, our MP, who raised the situation of the Gazans on Monday at Prime Minister's question time. Dear brothers and sisters, I can't be with you today because I'm away on parliamentary business. All our thoughts are with the thousands of people suffering at the hands of the Israeli Defense Force in Gaza. Over the last few weeks, we have seen the indiscriminate bombing of Gaza from the air, sea and land. This in itself should have been enough to describe what Israelis were doing as war crimes. However, since then, we have seen a ground invasion that has flattened large parts of Gaza City, as well as the whole neighbourhood massacred by tank shells. And now, to the horrors of the world, a United Nations shelter for the fleeing victims of Gaza bombed, leaving dozens dead and hundreds injured. There seems to be nothing that this evil Israeli government isn't prepared to do. The coming weeks and months will determine whether the international community has any backbone to apply the only pressure which Israel seems to understand. As Israel is morally bankrupt, the only pressure that can be applied is financial, and therefore recent actions such as the refusal of some foreign airlines to fly into Tel Aviv caused uproar. The Americans continue to bankroll Israel to the tune of many billions of dollars. If the international community through the UN can come together and persuade the United Nations that Israel is violating everything that the United Nations stands for and still wishes to call itself a civilized democracy, then the United Nations must stop. It must intervene and stop what is becoming a crime against humanity. If this does not happen, not only will thousands of Gazans perish, but the reaction to Israel will show Israel for what it really is, a pariah state. In the decades to come, Israel will pay the price for this and for its own security. It will be put at risk like it has never been put before, because of the sins of the past. We all hope for a free Palestine, with the two-state solution slipping away because of Israeli settlements and the Gaza and the systematic destruction. That hope seems a long way away. But we must continue to believe that the justice will eventually prevail, and that one day we will see a free and independent Palestine. A free and independent Palestine in a world free from terror that has had to undergo what Palestine has to achieve it. Yours sincerely, Mark Henry. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Salim, on behalf of Mark Hendrick. Now we have a local Prestonian sister, a long-time local activist for the Palestinian cause. We have Sufia Maktan.
Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. Thank you for that greeting. It was really good to hear. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone at the back hear me? Assalamu alaikum. Now, a lot of people say, why do we have these demonstrations? They don't make a difference. There's no point to them. You must have all heard the same thing. A lot of people do say that, but they do make a difference. They give strength and hope to the Palestinian people. Now, I know that because a good Palestinian friend of mine showed me some newspaper clippings that she had saved in her house to show me on my next visit to the region. And I think it was a demonstration in London, and she was crying and her family were in tears when they saw the amount of people here in the UK just in one of these demonstrations. So we must carry on these demonstrations. They do work and they do give hope and peace to the Palestinians. So well done all of you for coming today. Now, I've been to Palestine a number of times. The first time was about 15 to 18 years ago. I'm showing my age now. And back then, not many people knew about Palestine, I think it's fair to say. Back then, no one really knew about Al-Aqsa. And they used to ask, why are you going to Jerusalem? Why are you not going to Morocco or Spain? You know, you get cheaper deals there. And I said, well, I'm going to visit the third most holiest masjid in the world, Al-Aqsa. And they said, oh, okay, yes, that's good. But I could tell they were still quite looking a little bit blank, you know. Now, thanks to the mother of a few individuals here, the efforts of a few key individuals mainly, a lot of people do know about Palestine now, they do know about Al-Aqsa. But now it's not enough just to know about it. Now the thing is, we must visit it. And I think for those of us who are able to do so, for those of you who are able to do so, it should be compulsory to visit Al-Aqsa. It should be compulsory, inshallah. Every single one of the 8 visits to Al-Aqsa, I have come back with the very same message from different Palestinian brothers and sisters. And that is, go home and tell your brothers and sisters to come and visit us, to visit the masjid, because it is not just our duty and responsibility to look after Al-Aqsa, it is the duty of every single Muslim person in the world. It is our duty to look after Al-Aqsa, and this is my key message to all my brothers and sisters today about Al-Aqsa, to visit it. Now, there was one incident that happened on one of my visits there that will illustrate the importance of us visiting and the strength that we as British Muslims have in the area. It was one Thursday morning in the Haram al-Sharif in Al-Aqsa, and I was sitting there under the shade of a beautiful tree in the Haram al-Sharif, myself and my brother Bilal, when I noticed some tourists in the Haram al-Sharif. Now that in itself is not a problem. As Muslims, we invite all non-Muslims to visit the masjid, we welcome it, we encourage it. But the problem with this was that they were not inappropriately dressed, the men or the women. The women had scantily dressed, they were scantily dressed, they had shorts on, and listen, we're talking about the Haram al-Sharif here. They had shorts on, their chests were on display, my brothers and sisters. Can you imagine this in Mecca or Medina? No. Their heads were uncovered, and they were wearing, inappropriate tops with their arms showing, etc. And I thought, this is really unacceptable. Why are these Palestinians here in the Haram al-Sharif not approaching these tourists to tell them off, to tell them to dress in an appropriate manner and to cover themselves? And then it struck me, well, they're not allowed to. They will be in big trouble if they approach these, and I think they were mainly Russian, but there were tourists of every nationality that visit on a particular Thursday morning. They weren't allowed to, so it was left to me and my brother to approach them and say, look, you're at the third most holiest place in the world for Muslims, and this is completely unacceptable. You can't dress like this. So they had a few things that they could use to cover themselves up, and Israeli guard came over to me and said, what are you doing? Who are you? Show me your passport. And only upon showing him my British passport did he leave me alone. So that's the strength that us Brits have in Al-Aqsa. And after that incident, a little old lady, I think she must have been honestly in her late 80s, came over to me and said, thank you, sister. She said, tell everybody in England to come and visit us. This is what's happening here all the time, and you have strength in numbers, and yet really it's up to us currently to look after it. So that's my only message. Inshallah, brothers and sisters, you must preserve the sanctity of Al-Aqsa. You must go to protect your masjid. Inshallah, make the intention, sisters. Forget Dubai, forget Morocco, forget Malaysia, until you have been to Al-Aqsa. There are some good Jabba shops there too. So inshallah, plead with your fathers, your husbands, your brothers, your sons. Take us to Al-Aqsa. It is your duty as Muslims to go. It is your farad, it is compulsory. Don't delay. It is most important now than any other time ever. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. One last thing. My son Hamza has been practicing this all morning. So just 1 second. Again. One more.
Jazakallah, thank you very much, Sophia. Passionate as ever. Next, we have the chair of Lancashire Council of Mosques from Blackburn, Abdul Hamid Qureshi.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nasalli ala rasulihil kareem amma ba'd. First of all, my greetings to all of you from all backgrounds, all faiths, all colors, all creeds, all genders. Secondly, my deeply respect to the people of Palestine. They are really brave people. We are here trying to demonstrate, trying to raise voice for them in a very safe environment. Just imagine that 7 miles in depth and about 25 miles in length, 1.8 million people bombarded like anything, that they are living there and they are putting the resistance in such a way that I think that humanity hasn't seen in such a way. We have seen yesterday a pregnant woman hit by a shrapnel, died, and a baby is born at that time. Cesarean section was performed. That is the kind of situation in which they live. But what we see, the leadership which we have, the civilized leadership, they have this policy that speak lies so many times that it starts looking like truth. I tell you that before I came here, I smile. Time. To see what the BBC is telling, so that I can share a little bit with you. And two striking points. All the time we are hearing that the surgical strikes are done on Palestinians. The bombs used, the laser bombs go through the window. But the photos which we saw was the total destruction of every building, every house, every street you could think of. It's all demolished and destroyed. By whom? By the people who are still winning the sport on the back of that they were oppressed and wrongly oppressed by the person like Hitler, by the person like, the kind of suffering that nation has in the hands of only 60, 70, 80 years ago. And today, the kind of activities they were doing, and I was just seeing that how instead of their farm, they're purging with gas. And we then used to have this concept of gas chambers. Then we heard the word war. And what is between whom? What is really between the two countries? What is really between the two entities which people control and which people can freely build their forces? This is not a war. It has never been free. Gaza has always been imprisoned, surrounded, besieged. Every movement which happens in Gaza, it is noted by the Israelis. So saying war is a lie. It is not true. And then did you notice another point which I want to say? Our leaders stand up. I was observing Cameron, I was observing Obama, I even observed the other opposition leaders. When they stand up, you see the bombs are coming from where the bombs are coming, and what kind of destruction is inflicted. And the first thing they will say that these missiles are going to Israel, it is a great deal of oppression. And then they will say, well, we must say this right to Israel, as nobody knows that they have a right to defend. Defend from whom? From their own prisoners? A defense? It is not. It is a lie. So I just want to tell you and congratulate you that you are great people today to come out, because our leadership is intimidating. There is some sort of fear which really grabs them, and they cannot say what they ought to say. Every person who sees the situation can very easily feel that this is not right. You talk about radicalization. I have heard so many non-Muslim people saying that we were not radicalized before, but looking at Palestine, looking at Gaza, we are radicalized. Radicalized for what? Establishing justice is the only way to peace. And justice is what we fight for. Justice for all humanity. So my dear friends, may God bless you all, and we pray for Palestinians that may they be saved from this barrage of attack which is on to them. Just say once for me that long live Palestine. May God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Well, I've got a couple of speakers that will be finished very quickly, but we've got now the most passionate Palestinian speaker for Palestine in Preston, I'd say. We've got the one and the only Michael Elliott.
I was going to start off by saying that if anyone wants to give me 1,500 quid for my t-shirt, I'd be coming to at the end. I'm quite glad to do that. Brothers and sisters, colleagues and friends, this is day 19 of the most vicious attack on Gaza. There is over 1,000 Palestinians have been murdered by the murderous Israeli state. There are over 6,000 Palestinians who have been injured by the murderous Israeli state, and there are thousands more who have been left homeless by the murderous Israeli state. Over the last 19 days, their justification for this was that there was 3 young Jewish men kidnapped 4 weeks ago. But you may not have noticed, it wasn't on BBC, it wasn't in the newspapers, but this week the Israeli state admitted that the kidnaps was not carried out by Hamas, and therefore the justification for the attack was completely unfounded. This is a murderous attack without any justification, whose determination is to wipe out the people of Gaza in an ethnic cleansing assault on Gaza. We must not be quiet, we must not stay quiet, we must stand up for the people of Gaza. The Israelis tell us that those who have been bombed, that this is now a new friendly war, that they get a text message or a phone call, and then you can leave their home. Well, where did they go? The Gaza Strip is completely enclosed. On the one hand is the sea, on the other hand there is the Israeli apartheid wall. There is nowhere for the people of Gaza to go. There is nowhere for them to escape the bombs. This is without doubt a pre-planned war crime by the Israelis, and they must be held to account for their bloody war crimes. But there's another question. How can Israel afford this? Because they are not a wealthy country. And they can only afford this because every single year they get $6 billion worth of arms from the United States. And therefore, while the Israeli government has blood on their hands, so does the American state, and so does Obama, who continue to fund the Israeli armed forces. This is about the wartime of Netanyahu. This is about the wartime supported by Obama, and of course, wherever Obama goes, David Cameron and the rest of these poodles are not far behind. And that leaves us with the question, how can we end what is happening in Gaza? Well, the obvious thing is people said earlier on, we cannot rely on the Arab leaders, because the Arab leaders the Arab leaders have done nothing for the Palestinian people. The Egyptian leaders, if nothing else, could open up the Rafah gates and let the people of Gaza out. They have refused to do so. We cannot trust the Arab leaders. And so we have only two forces. We have the heroic resistance of the Palestinian people in Gaza, on the West Bank, in Israel itself, where this week there have been strikes across the villages of Israel by Palestinian people. But the second source of power comes from people like you and me, in Chicago, in Sydney, in Melbourne, across Africa, across Asia, and today in London, in Birmingham, in Manchester, in Preston, in Newcastle, in Glasgow, in Edinburgh. Today, hundreds of thousands of people in Britain have marched in support of Gaza, and this is our message to our government and to the Israelis. Stop supporting war crimes. Stop supporting the Israelis. If you continue to support the Israelis, you will pay the price. You will pay the price of the election, because we will not forget your complicity and the destruction and the death of Gaza and the war crimes that have been committed against the Palestinian people.
Thank you very much, as always, Michael. Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Free, free!
Palestine!
Okay, next we have someone who's actually a Gazan who spoke 2 weeks ago, and he corrected me to say he's got 114 living members of his family in Gaza at present. He's a tireless worker on behalf of the Palestinians, on behalf of Interpol, the charity that he works for. He goes up and down the country to raise funds for Interpol. He goes across Europe to raise funds for Interpol. He's the one, the only Sheikh Abu Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. Big salam from Gaza for all the people in Preston. When they receive that the town hall drive the flag, they said, Barakallahu fiikum beautiful. Thank you. Few days ago, I'm from Khan Yunis, by the way. Khan Yunis is in the middle of Gaza Strip. We have this small hospital called Nasser Hospital. The ambulance driver, he received the call, come, there is bombarding for some building. And he went to help the people. And he was shocked. He found his house demolished completely, and his wife and 4 children. Then, instead of taking them to the hospital, he took them to the cemetery. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Yesterday, the Israelis bombarded the house north of Gaza. When the ambulance arrived, he found all the members of the family dead except the wife, the lady. She was pregnant, and they took her to the hospital, but before arriving she passed away. When the doctor tried to check the body, they found the baby still alive. So this is the baby who was born without mother. He became an orphan before he came to this dunya, to this life. حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل. And today when they started ceasefire, they went to Al-Shafi'iyya, neighborhood east of Gaza, and they killed about 70 bodies of people from underground. Now number of people killed in this war, about 1,000. 19 days, they bombarding, they killing everything. Al-Hajar wal-Shajar, the buildings, the farms, hospitals, charities, schools, even the school of the United Nations. The flag of the United Nations was flying, and 170 people there. They found the shelter. After they lost their houses, F-16 bombarded them. 21 have been killed, and about 100 injured, or 70, I don't remember. And this is the situation. Can they break the will of the people of Gaza? Impossible. Their heads are up. They will never go to anyone. Just prostrate for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the message? Number one to the David Cameron. Wake up. Enough for silence. You have to tell them stop the killing. Message to Obama the same. Don't support the aggressive people who are killing and repeating the same scenario happened to them by Nazis. They suffer, but they do the same against the Palestinians. Stop killing, stop destroying houses. The Palestinians need one thing only, they need peace. They need their rights, they need their freedom. And about the Muslims and non-Muslims, the free people everywhere, we have to raise our voices and support the people. And what's coming, it is more difficult than today. Yes, we try our best to send the medicine food, but to rebuild Gaza, it needs yet a lot of efforts. But Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we good news that now, just a few hours ago, Interpol succeeded to pass 11 trucks of medicine and medical equipment to Gaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them shifa to all the people. Dear brothers and sisters, all the people who support Gaza, remember them in your dua and tell the others, the MPs, the media, try again and again to put them, to show what's going on. The people are silent. Leaders of Arabs are deaf, mute, mad. They are careless. But the Ummah, it is care about the Palestinians. And the future for them, وَمَا النَّصْرُ إِلَّا مِنْ عِنْدِ اللَّهِ. And I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Wallahi, inshallah, people of Gaza will be victory. No one can defeat them at all. Because one of the Al Jazeera journalists, he came to a Shifa hospital, a little boy, injured severely. And he said to him, what is your message to the Israelis? He said in our accent, I don't care, 1, 2, 3. This is the ruh of these children. Even the child, he is not there. That means these people is alive. They are not dead. And finally, Palestine not for the Palestinians. Masjid Al-Aqsa not for the Palestinians. Al-Kaaba is not for Saudis. It is for anyone who say La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah. And now Gaza is the symbol for all free people in the world. Everyone respect himself, he support people in Gaza. And we have to say, free, free Palestine!
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 Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar! Jazakum Allah khairan. And I would like to congratulate this girl who came with the wheelchair to support the people in Gaza.
Jazakallah Sheikh Muhammad. We've got the last speaker now. We've got Sister Nora, who's sort of part of the International Brigade of Gaza. She'd just like to say a few words.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh for everyone. Just 2 months ago, I had the opportunity opportunity during the celebration or the commemoration, better say, of the Gaza Day to give a speech to the people in the Magazi camp in Gaza. Some of these people was listening this speech if the people was today be moved from the rubble of the house today. I don't want to repeat what people say today. Everyone knows what is going on in Palestine. But for the respect of that people that was probably killed by the four more powerful army in the world, I want to say something. It's not such a thing in Palestine as terrorist groups. This is not at all. The Islamic movement Hamas, the Sikh Islamic, all the armed groups in Palestine, they are freedom fighters. That they are dying to recover the dignity of the people in Gaza. That is not only dying now under the bombs. People is dying from 8 years ago in Gaza under the siege. People can't imagine what is living under the siege. Everyone goes to Gaza. Is the first people ask themselves how the people in Gaza can live in that conditions. In this moment, not only the siege, of course, because even now, where is more than 1,000 people dying, Egyptian government still refused to open the Gaza border to allow to enter the medicine. Then I think what we have to do from this moment is not allow anymore. People say a different story. That is not the truth. People in Gaza, the resistance movement in Gaza, which are not terrorists, is only one terrorist in Palestine, and this is the Israel terrorist state. People cannot protest anymore that someone says such a thing. Only Israel is the terrorist. And I want to invite all of you to raise the voice, not only when a massacre is going on, all the time, the oppression of people in Palestine has 66 years ongoing. Then we need to stand up and to ask and to go to the government and ask not to support anymore this bloodshed in Palestine. Few days ago, the British government sent bombs and weapons to Israel. Then the government, the British government also is killing the people in Palestine. This is very fair, and this is what we have to say. That's all. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much, Sister Laura. Okay, that wraps up our event. This is a bit of a conclusion. We'd like to thank all of our speakers that have spoken passionately about the Palestinian cause today. Thank you very much to all of them. We've mentioned a lot of things that we can do. We'll wrap it up with very shortly. Boycott the supermarkets that are selling the illegal produce from the occupied territory. It's very important. I mean, there's only Co-op that doesn't sell any produce from the illegal settlements. Continue with all the social media, what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Gaza, with WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter. Fill in all the petitions. What else is there? We've got the websites. There's some good websites. The Guardian website is good for live updates. A couple of us called Electronic Intifada, Occupy Palestine. Don't listen to BBC and Sky all the time. Use other ones out there. And last but not least, we've had Interpol here. If anyone hasn't donated, you can kindly give them some donations, and they'll take them with you. And as one Nasheed artist says, or sings, I'll just try to attempt it. Palestine, tomorrow will be free. Sing with me. Palestine, tomorrow will be free. One more anti-Palestine.